I'm almost certain that we're all heaving a huge sigh of relief, as it does seem like there is light at the end of this COVID-19 tunnel, with some countries having already vaccinated large numbers of their population, and locally we're also seeing vaccination rollouts happening now, so there's some nervous excitement as to the prospect of going back to life as we knew it. So how do we go about adapting to life after COVID? For this discussion, I'm joined in studio by life coach and relationship expert Leah Sifor. Leah, welcome, good to have you here.
Hi, good to be here.
What are some of the things that we've learned from COVID that we can take forward going into the new state of affairs?
Yeah, well, I like that you've said, what have we learned? Because I think it's such an important part of human existence, is having to learn the lessons of what does not work, but then having to actively put different plans of action in place to make sure we're not repeating same old mistakes. And I think that the imposed lockdown made a lot of people realize how ineffectual their communication was with their partners, with their kids, with work.
Yes.
I think it made people realize a lot of work needs to be done around boundaries and effectively work on this side, family on this side, self-care on this side. And I think a lot of how much we can self-sustain without needing a lot of external stuff. So providing for ourselves, growing our own vegetables, taking care of our own way of life instead of outsourcing that stuff all the time, and just making the simpler things more important. Versus checking out of our own lives in a way. I think that before COVID, people were just racing through their lives with no stop and smell the roses. And COVID really brought everything to a screeching halt, to be very conscious and aware in the present moment of what is most valuable to us.
Do you think that we're going to get back to a place where people are screeching through life again, or do you think that that has changed? And I mean, what is you're seeing from clients of yours potentially in the way they're seeing the world?
I think that we always see the pendulum swing into an extreme. So lockdown was an extreme, and I think once we're allowed out, it's a bit like wild animals that have been caged. I think people are going to be partying a lot and going out a lot and spending huge time with friends and family, and almost going a bit overboard to make up for what they feel has been deprived for so long. But then, you know, as always, the pendulum will slowly come down. The very ongoing permanent change that I'm really seeing is to do with work.
Okay.
And I think a lot of offices, a lot of companies have really realized how effective work from home scenarios are, how much happier staff are, and less illness, less mental health issues, less stress. So I think that we are really seeing a complete paradigm shift in the way that we do business and do work. And that for me looks like it's staying. That doesn't look like it's coming to an end anytime soon.
Now, what about people who are desperately hanging on to that sort of idea that life will go back to what it was before? How can they possibly moderate those expectations to accept the fact that it's quite likely that things will always be different?
I don't think anyone that I work with or anyone that I speak to is under any delusion that there's going back to anything. This is real. COVID will be here probably for a very long time.
Yeah.
It's not just being eradicated overnight. And we've spoken before about resilience. So I think that practicing the art of learning skills, emotional and mental skills, that a lot of this stuff is here to stay, but how are you functioning in your life to make sure that that external stuff is not derailing you? But there's no going back. There's never going back in life. You can never go back to where you've been before. There is only learning the lesson and moving forward.
Yeah. And also just living now and experiencing the now for what it is. I think that's quite an important thing to do.
And letting go of expectations of who you think people should be. This is a big one. People have all fundamentally changed through COVID. Personalities have shifted, needs, wants, desires have shifted, expectations have shifted. So it's important to check in with the people in your life, whether it's your marriage, your children, your boss especially, colleagues that you work with, friends, of what maybe new places they're in, so that you can respond accordingly instead of holding a picture of who they were before COVID.
Yes.
Because that has definitely shifted.
I want to just touch once more on that resilience thing, because how do we stop from this constant awareness that you speak of, that we're going to have to maintain because COVID is still around and will be, but to stop that from becoming something that causes you undue stress over time?
Yes. Well, look, I think the biggest problem with everybody is what they choose to follow on social media, on TV, what they listen to on the radio. If you are only constantly listening to news and the negatives, it seriously informs your mental health. So be conscious but not obsessive.
Right.
Like check in once a week to check what's going on, and then check out of that, and make sure that you are nurturing your input in terms of what you're seeing, watching, hearing, with empowering stuff, with enlightening stuff, with fun, with educational things that can help you think in a different way, behave in a different way. It has been the one huge gift of COVID, is the abundance of online courses and workshops that have come out that everybody can access to find a healthier way to build resilience.
Yeah. And I think an important thing to do as well is to, you touched on it earlier, enjoy those things in life that bring you joy and feed your soul, because while we have been able to do certain things at home, we haven't been able to necessarily get out to those places that have always been the outlets or the recharging spaces, and to maybe sort of retouch on those and reconnect with those experiences. So how do we recapture that?
Well, I think reconnection is the key word here. And I think we all had to, for our sanity, disconnect from everything, to just isolate, to heal, and to process what was going on. So connection, that's not through Zoom, if possible. So it is slowly starting to see clients face to face. It is slowly starting to go to restaurants and see your friends and family. And not just going out to restaurants, but just going to homes and having family get-togethers again. You know, it's remembering our human connection is what really drives our happiness at the core of everything.
Absolutely. I mean, travel is another big thing that we're going to have to get used to the idea of again. What are your thoughts around there in terms of re-engaging with the world of travel?
I think it's quite fear-based at the moment. Obviously, you know, with all of the travel bans going on with countries that, you know, like we can't travel, and, you know, depending on the vaccination passport, and I think this is a lot of fear for people, is are you allowed to enter the world if you haven't had the vaccination? You know, is our airlines going to require it? Are border control going to require it? Can you stay places? You know, I think there's so much uncertainty about what world travel is going to look like, but there's not uncertainty within your own country. And I think this is a great time to be the local tourist. And I think that our tourism industry needs a huge amount of support. So I'm a big fan of explore your own country as if you were a tourist, and just keep it local. It's just, I think it's too soon right now for us to predict what's going to happen with world travel. So, but it doesn't mean you can't travel in your own country.
Exactly. Just a few ideas for people to consider, because there is this sort of scary monster of life out there for some people, and we just have to do it carefully and embrace the new normal, the new world that we live in.
And make plans around all areas of your life. Just sit and look at all different areas of your life. Look at what isn't working for you. Look at what you would like those areas to look like, and then start making a plan of action. Instead of waiting for external stuff to change before you feel you can activate change in your own life. The other way around.
Absolutely. Empowering yourself in that way. Fantastic. Leah, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Always lovely chatting to you.
Pleasure.